Hello, this is Geri coming to you live from Colorado. I'm trying this again. This is my second live today. The first one didn't post. So if any of you out there know the trick, know something I don't know, which would be just about anything, about Facebook Live as to why sometimes it doesn't record, let me know. I would love to know. Anyway, so what I wanted to talk about today is I got a question. And it's a question, let me set you here so I'm not moving around. It's a question that I actually get quite often. It's an excellent coaching question, and I think that it would apply to some of you out there today. And the question is from a mother of young children who has a lot of daily purposes, as all young moms do, that fills her day, that takes all her resources. And she wants to know, how do you have the time or mind space to think about your purpose, to think about a personal mission, or maybe even if you have one or you think you know what it is, how do you have time to do anything towards it? So I wanted to address this. I think this is so important. The first thing I'd like to say about it, and then I'm going to tell a client story because I think that's really effective to tell you about a young woman in that situation and how she handled it. But I want to distinguish for you the idea of daily purposes versus, our larger life purpose. God does not waste a thing. You can be sure, no matter what you spend your days doing, if it's diapers and taking care of children, if it's running older children around to school activities, if it's a job, a career maybe that you aren't passionate about, but you're in because you need to be, the different things that pull us in different directions that maybe aren't totally where our passions are. Or we enjoy what we do, but we have a vision for something greater, or want to spend the time to look towards that. God uses our daily purposes to train us. So what he's doing is he's testing and training us. He's testing us in terms of just our perseverance to do what is before us to do, and to do it unto him, and do it cheerfully. And then secondarily, he is training us because the skills that we are gaining, the character development that we're gaining from whatever those daily purposes are going towards the training for your greater purpose. And you can be sure, because he never wastes a thing. I had this time period in my life. It's been decades ago. I have a daughter who's in this time period right now. She's a mother of 2 young ones, and she's a pretty determined young woman. And so she is, and plus she's got a mom that's a Christian life coach, so she hears it quite often. In fact, she herself has been through Christian life coach training. And so she understands the importance of fanning the flame, of just keeping some bit of time, energy, resources to fan the flame of what you're passionate about. And it could be, if you don't know what the thing is that you can't not do, that's what you want to put that time and energy towards, is pulling it aside and reserving it to discover what God has for you. How he's putting the puzzle pieces of your life up to this very day together to point you in a direction. Because he is. He does not want to hide our purpose from us. And a lot of times people around us that know us, that have seen us over the course of life, are the best ones to get feedback from about what they see in us. What is the repeatable thing that rises to the surface that they see us light up about? What do they think the thing we can't not do might be? And if you start doing that kind of surveying along with praying, of course, it's always true that God will show you. It could take time. It's a journey for sure, but he won't hide it from you. So let me give you a client example. There was, this is probably about 6 years ago now. Her name, we're going to call her Martha. Martha is a mom of 3 and a wife of a full-time pastor. And he's not just a full-time pastor, he's actually a church planter. So I live here in Colorado. When people come for life plans, it's an intensive planning process that goes over a 2 or 3 day weekend, and they actually fly to Colorado to do that here. So this young woman, Martha, knew about our ministry, and she was at a point of her life that she needed some movement in terms of acting out her desire to find her purpose, to connect with it and start moving in that direction. She had a holy discontentment, let's call it. And the most beautiful thing about this story is her husband's support. He was and is amazing in supporting her, in saying, yes, Martha, I want to prioritize this in our family's resources, time, money, the situation, so that you can move forward in this journey to connect with your mission. So she connected with me, and we talked about it, and we talked about time frames and the money involved. And God love her, she said, okay, Geri, I'm going to go back. I'm going to talk to my husband. We're going to pray about this, and you're going to hear from me. And I sure did. They pulled together money from other pieces and parts of their budget, and they made that part happen. And then they had to find somebody to come in and help with sitting, because she was going to be gone, and her husband, of course, would be at the church. Well, they made it happen, let me tell you. So another exciting piece of this story, backdrop that I think you need to know, is that Martha, from the time she was a young girl, had a heart for the marginalized. She would see people that didn't have a voice, that didn't, that had situations that seemed unfair or unjust, and it would rise up in her, even as a young girl. She knew this was something that she couldn't put down. So she already had put together some hints and some sneak previews, and all of that she brought into this process here, along with her and I praying that God would reveal what he had for her. So she comes here expectant, and I have to tell you, the best thing, the most exciting gift out of this whole thing for me or my husband Ron, when we do these life plan retreats, and we do everything gender specific. So I always work with the women, Ron works with the men, and then if we have a couple in, then we work together couple to couple. So I was so excited to spend this time getting to know Martha and seeking God with her. So she came, and we have lots and lots of ways to help you get your arms around what your personal leverage is. Those are all the things that make you uniquely qualified and give you a distinct advantage for that one-of-a-kind purpose God has for you. So we just had a blast going through her life, her timeline, and seeing what God brought to the surface from different poignant moments in her life, intersection times where she felt God was speaking to her, gifts, passions, skills, upbringing, education, good and bad experiences in life, failures and successes. These are some of the things that we talk about and get our arms around. That's all part of what makes us uniquely qualified for what God has us for. So Martha and I went through our process, and all the while she had in mind the fact that back in California, in fact, where they were church planning at this time was in the inner city area of LA, Los Angeles. So they were in a situation that she was pretty much surrounded by marginalized people in need of help, of an advocate. And so this stirring that she had that kind of showed up in different ways and different forms in her life, it was really peaking here because of the church situation that her and her husband in, that God had them plant a church, an environment like that. And so this was very helpful because it really kind of cemented for Martha what she wanted, the end result. She wanted where God was taking her to be something that would hone her skills, her gifts, and her passions so she could pour back into this church environment where she was living. So we knew that it had something to do with advocacy. That was a known pretty much from the start. We went through the process together, and when we came to the part where you're starting to pull together all the clues, connect the dots, and you're going to dare to make a mission statement. Well, hers came out pretty clearly that she was to be an advocate for marginalized people, and it was going to be specific in the area of legal matters. She had some college, but as happens to many of us women, myself included, her college stopped because she started having children, and it kind of got put on a back burner. But all along, she had that desire to go back to school and actually become an attorney so that she could be an advocate for the marginalized people. So all of this came out in her mission statement. And then we go from mission statement to vision. Vision means, okay, now that I know this is my purpose, how might it play out? And it's going to play out maybe different in the current season you're in from future season because of availability. So for Martha, because she was the mother of 3 school-age children, she knew she couldn't just tear into this full time when she got back. So we were prayerful about putting together a plan of steps she could take to fan the flame, to move in this direction, to go through the doors that God might open and be obedient in that way while she still managed her daily purposes. So she went back to California with a plan, and I have kept in touch with her. And the very first thing her and her husband did after she shared this with him is they rearranged their budget to create a space that she could start back into college. And of course, with their situation, because of being church planners, they certainly don't have a high income. She was able to qualify for some scholarship, and that was helpful too. They also worked on getting some sitters for a regular basis so that there'd be somebody to fill in for her when she was going to take classes. So you see, they took action. It wasn't just, just, yes, I'm passionate about this and expect everything to just fall into place. She had to take some steps, some difficult steps, some sacrificial steps as a family. But she did so. She finished her undergrad. She went on into a post undergrad work, heading towards a degree in law. And during that time period, she intersected an opportunity at an agency that was all about advocacy for the marginalized. So God had opened this door, and I believe when she first intersected this agency, it was a volunteer or an internship, something non-paying, that turned into paying. But even in the non-paying stage of this, it was marvelous training for her. And what she got so excited about is she wasn't at the end of her ultimate goal of, being able to be an attorney for these people, but just from the steps she had taken and where she was in her process, she could take what she was learning back to her church. She became an advocate for those in her church body that needed help, that needed guidance on where to get the help. And she learned all of that, where the resources were, who to connect people with, through her work with this advocacy agency. So it was marvelous what God did, just marvelous. So I get excited about to continue to watch her journey. And anytime we work with a man, a woman, or a couple with a life plan, we are so excited because once they join our circle, they're forever in our circle. And we love to see what God does in helping them as they're faithful to walk that path, to stay in that vision and that mission that they've discovered he's given them. So that's an example that I wanted to share with you, young women. And again, I want to say to you, don't be discouraged. I know there are days when you can't see past the diapers and the messes and the lack of sleep, and you don't even have time for a shower sometimes. And so the thought of working on your purpose might just seem overwhelming. But I believe if you just stick your toe in, if you just lift up a prayer, if you just take a little step, God will meet you where you're at and he will open doors. But you've got to want it. You've got to say, yep, this is what I want to head for. I want to connect with what God's plan is for me. And I think another important part of this, ladies, is that it is entirely biblical that every one of us has a mission and a purpose. And many times as women, when we're supporting our husband, especially if they are the provider, the main provider in the home, we can feel even maybe selfish or like we are, it's a wrong desire to want our own mission. And that is not true. It is true that for each one of us, we're unique from our spouses. Now, God always puts in order in his order those priorities. So certainly he isn't going to give you a mission that is going to keep you from your daily purposes. And if one of those is being the support mechanism in the home for your husband, then that shouldn't be in contradiction with your mission, because certainly God would not cause that because of his priorities in the home, the marriage, and the family. So with that in mind, though, there's no reason that you can't be supporting the mission your husband has, and he can be supporting your mission as well, and still keep the order and priorities in the family in line. He can and will do that. So I wanted to encourage you with that and end with the same quote that I shared another time. And I'm sharing the same quote because I got feedback that it was very powerful. So let me share it again. Your journey has molded you for your greater good, and it was exactly what it has needed to be. Don't think that you've lost time. It took each and every situation you've encountered to bring you to the now, and now is right on time. So I leave you with that. God bless you. And if you need some support in the form of a Christian life coach, or if I can help you and support you in any way, please let me know. God bless you.